Hello friends, this is Worm, as seen on TV, and today we are back with another episode of What If Wednesday, the series where we come up with what ifs of Destiny. What if this, what if that, what if maybe not, right? And today I had an idea that I've literally been thinking about for like 2 weeks now, right? Because last week I was gonna talk about this what if, but I was sick and I just couldn't get around to it. So this week we are talking about what if Bungie added a shooting range into Destiny 2, right? Now, hold your horses, because I know somebody's probably gonna say it. Worm, there's already a shooting range in Destiny 2. It's at the Enclave, and yeah, kind of, right? There is a place where you can go shoot at some random targets in the Enclave, but it is by no means a shooting range at all. Right, like it is literally just some discs that you can shoot at that don't move or anything. But I kind of wanted to talk about some of my ideas for a shooting range in Destiny 2, starting off with, of course, the location of said shooting range, because location is key. And my initial thought was, hey, the best place to put a shooting range would be at the tower, right? That way, you know, you go to the tower, you go to the social space, you know, and you're milling around. You can go down there and you can do some fun testing for various weapons and stuff like that. And so the tower was my very first and my initial thought. My second thought was the Helm, and of course my last thought was the Enclave. So I want to talk about the tower first and why I don't know if the tower would be necessarily the best place. Like obviously for theme reasons it would be the best place in my opinion, but in terms of practicality I don't think it would necessarily be the best. Reason number one, it's a social space, right? You can't load into a tower where you're just by yourself, right? I mean, I know you can, but you have to edit some system settings, and it's not really worth it to do all that mess to load into the tower or load into a strike or anything by yourself. But yeah, it's a social space. There are other people that are going to be present, and I know that, you know, if Bungie were to add a shooting range to the tower, everybody and their mom is going to be in there shooting at stuff and messing around, right? Like the whole tower lobby, you're gonna have like 25 people in there shooting targets and doing all this stuff, and it would be a real headache, especially if you're somebody who wants to go to get damage testing done, which we'll talk about that in just a second. But yeah, that's the first issue with the tower. I think the second issue with having the tower be the location for this shooting range is the fact that this tower is exclusively in third person. Like there's no tower first person, you know, there's not this, oh, I can switch between first person and third person. Like the tower does not have that functionality. Like it never has. Like you've never been able to load into the tower in first person, except for maybe a glitch or something at one point in time in Destiny's history, but you can't do that. And I know that Bungie has the capability of allowing players to change between first and third person. I mean, look at swords, look at sparrows, look at supers. Like you can switch from first to third person very easily, but I think that the tower is coded in such a way that it doesn't allow first person, period, right? Like you can't even hold your weapons out. Like at least like some plays like the Enclave, you know, you can't shoot anything, or the Helm can't shoot anything, right? But you're still first person, your weapons are still, you know, they're I don't know what the word is, disarmed, whatever, you know, you can't ADS with them, you can't shoot them and stuff like that, but it is still in first person, right? And I think that would be the second biggest issue with putting a shooting range in the tower itself. So moving on to the next place, of course, the Enclave. The Enclave, there is already a shooting range at the Enclave. Shooting range, we'll do that, right? There's already a place at the Enclave where you can shoot targets, right? So this is the next like logical place to put it, right? You put it in there, you know, rework that area, you know, so that you have room for a shooting range, right? Unfortunately, I think the main issue, well, there's two main issues with the Enclave. Issue number one, it's not accessible to everybody. If I'm not mistaken, if you don't have the Witch Queen DLC, I don't think you can go to the tower. If somebody could fact check that, like that'd be much appreciated. But I don't think you can go to the Enclave if you don't have the Witch Queen, if you don't own the Witch Queen. So I think that obviously would be problematic, because we want everybody to have access to the shooting range, right? But the other issue is that, quite frankly, it's too small, right? Like that little area is, you know, it goes way back. Don't get me wrong, there's like a canyon back there, but it's too narrow for the potential ideas I have in mind for a shooting range, right? Plus, like, I think that it's not very well lit, and I know that Bungie could edit it and make it, you know, better and stuff like that, but I think that you know, where it is currently. I think it's too small. I think that we wouldn't have enough room to work with the ideas and thoughts that we have. So that's the Enclave. Finally, we're going to look at the Helm. And the Helm, I think, is the best place for a shooting range to be added, right? Because everybody has access to the Helm, right? It is a safe social space, right? And that's kind of the key for having a shooting range. Like, you don't want to go to a combat zone where, you know, enemies could potentially follow you in, or you have to walk out and kill stuff. Like, you want to do it in a safe, protected area. And the Helm is just that. It is first person, right? So I don't think it would be difficult for Bungie to allow us to start shooting in first person. It is instance based. So, you know, when you load into your own instance, and the only people that are going to be there with you are people who are in your fire team, which of course you can make sure that nobody's in your fire team, right? And of course, last thing is there's space, right? The Helm is a giant freaking ship. Like, it is a massive ship. You're going to tell me that Bungie can't work out the room to put a cool shooting range in there? I would not buy that for a second, right? So I think that it should be on the Helm. Now, of course, where would you actually access it? You know, on the left wing, we have Season of the Deep stuff. In the middle, we have Season of Defiance stuff. On the right, we have Season of the Wish stuff. And of course, down under us, and under and behind us, sorry, we have Season of the Witch stuff, right? But there is a door that is directly behind you when you spawn that goes kind of up a little flight of stairs. That would be the perfect access area to the gun range, right? To the shooting range, sorry. And I don't think Bungie should necessarily like open those doors and it just opens into the shooting range, because then it's like, well, where's the rest of the ship, right? But maybe they could, you know, open that up, have a little offshoot down a hall that you can go to access the shooting range. And of course, once you're in the shooting range, live fire is enabled. That would be where I would probably say the best place to put it is. Plus, like I said, everybody has access to the Helm, so no one is going to be locked out of it, regardless of whether you own seasons or not. But yeah, that's my idea for the locations of a gun range in Destiny, or a shooting range, sorry, in Destiny 2. But I want to get into the details of this shooting range, because I have had a lot of time to think about it. And I think that, you know, what is the purpose of a shooting range in a video game? Is it to go and practice your aim? No. I mean, yeah, you could theoretically go practice your aim. You know, if you go to the Enclave now, you could practice, you know, flicking between targets. That would help you to some degree in your combat, but I don't think that shooting ranges in video games are necessarily meant for, you know, testing things out and getting the feel for things, right? I think they're meant more, practice. I don't think they're meant for practice. I do think they are more meant for testing things, right? Say you get a new, a new hand cannon, right? Let's say you just unlock Kept Confidence, right? And you want to go just test it out, see what it sounds like, see how it shoots, stuff like that. You can go load into the Helm, run to this shooting range, and there you can have access to all the things that you might want to test and need to test. And we'll get into those more in just a second. But like, having the ability to test things is very important, right? You can take a new gun in there and test it. Or what I was really thinking is, of course, damage numbers. Right now, the best way we do damage testing is, you know, you go to Grasp of Avarice, the first boss there, you go to the Templar, like you go to one of these, you know, big bullet spongy bosses, and you do damage testing there. But I think that if Bungie were to add a shooting range to Destiny 2, they could add the potential to measure all these stats that you want to see for your damage testing, right? And I think we'll go a little bit more in depth for that damage testing in just a second. But of course, you know, I want to also talk about the features of a shooting range and what you would expect to see. Of course, you want to see targets at multiple ranges. I think that, you know, it makes sense to have maybe 75 to 100 meters be the max range. As I sit and think here in Destiny, like, I don't think there's really any legit like reasonable ranges that you would want to test something further than that. But hey, you know what, Bungie, you could always make it 200 meters, but, you know, have different targets, you know, just different dummy targets set up at different ranges, you know, 10 meters, 20 meters, 30, 40, 50, all the way up to 200. Or, you know, maybe once you get to 100 meters, then they're spread out by 25, you know, 125, 150, 175, something like that. But of course, you would need different ranges so that you can test different weapons, right? But I think that also, in terms of weapon ranges, I think that there should also be a dynamic dummy, a dynamic shooting dummy that will actually move back as you damage it, like move back like by a meter or maybe a tenth of a meter at a time every time you damage it, until you hit max damage range, and then maybe there's a little computer or something that tells you how far it is, right? Because again, one of the difficult things of damage testing is you have to go to a private Crucible game, you have to put on Darcy, and you have to measure how far away somebody is until you stop dealing damage, right? Bungie could make this so much simpler if they added a dummy that would give you damage ranges, right? 34 meters, you know, you're dealing damage with this, say, this auto rifle, right? Dealing damage with this auto rifle, and once you hit 34 meters, the dummy stops moving, and it tells you this is the max damage. 34.8 meters is the maximum damage range that you have with this, and it's not going to go any further. Like, I think that would be a really neat and dynamic way, and again, it would give us a way to test ranges. How much range does a weapon have? Hey, if I put on, you know, full bore on this weapon, how much range does it have? You know, or versus, you know, polygonal rifling, how much range does it have? You know, I think that would be really, really awesome. But in terms of range, we'll go ahead and go through the stats here. Stability, I think, should be another. It would be awesome to see another dummy that is like, it's just a wall, maybe just a target, but it will measure your shooting patterns, right? So like as you shoot, you know, you can control your recoil, or you can shoot, just let it fly, right? And it will log those recoil patterns, and it will put them off on like a screen off to the side or something, right? That way you can shoot the wall 3 or 4 times, and it'll show you all these different patterns right next to each other. And then if you want, you can interact with it, hit some interact button to overlap them to see all the different, you know, recoil values, or recoil patterns, sorry, that you have for this weapon. That way you can get a feel, okay, like I see this weapon, it has a tendency to go up and to the left, but it goes up and to the left, and then it goes up and straight sometimes. So I know that I'm going to need to compensate a little bit to the right, but not too much, because you don't want to start curving it off to the right or something like that. Like, give us some sort of ability. I think that would be such a cool thing to have in Destiny. You know, what if we could test stability, you know? Outside of that, I really don't know any other stats you could really test easily, but you know, range, stability, let us have the ability to have, you know, something to test those in more depth than what we have currently, right? Because currently you want to test your recoil pattern, you go shoot a wall, and then you move over a meter and shoot it again, and you move over a meter and shoot it again. Like, it's really boring, and it feels uninteractive, and that's kind of the point of this whole shooting range. We want an interactive, you know, fun, exciting, easy to read shooting range that will, you know, help kind of do the math for you. But other features, of course, you know, there are hundreds of perks in this game. There are hundreds of perks, and many of the perks, they have certain requirements to activate. For example, kill clip, you have to get a kill to activate kill clip, you know. For precision instrument, you have to deal damage to get that, you know, precision damage multiplier up there, right? Why not allow, or why not have a shooting range that allows for the activation of any perk very easily, right? You know, let's say there's a big target, right? Big old target. You know, that's like a boss target, right? And there's a bunch of little targets, and every time you shoot a little target, just once, you just shoot it once, it counts as a kill. So you could shoot one, reload, then you have kill clip active, or, you know, you can shoot 3 or 4 of them, get rampage going, shoot 5 of them to get swashbuckler or adrenaline junkie going, like just something to activate these perks. Or, you know, you're standing in a spot and it will activate surrounded if you have something with surrounded, you know, it says, hey, there's 3 enemies nearby, so now it activates surrounded. Like something to give us the ability to test damage numbers and to test perks to the full extent that we want to test them. That would be such an awesome, like that is such an awesome context, or concept, sorry. Like, what if Bungie gave us that? What if Bungie gave us the ability to activate any perk? Hey, I want to activate precision instrument and test, you know, the precision instrument damage. Hey, if I wanted to see how rampage would work against a boss, right? You know, I shoot this ad, shoot this ad, shoot this ad. Man, I'm at rampage times 3. Deal a little bit of damage, shoot another ad, deal a little bit of damage, shoot another ad. Like, obviously, that's not a reasonable strategy in any other form of the game. Like, if you're damaging Oryx, like, it doesn't make sense that I'm gonna go kill a thrall real quick so that I can keep rampage times 3 going on my machine gun or whatever it is, right? Doesn't make sense. But hey, the shooting range doesn't have to make sense. It's all theoretical, right? But like, it would be so nice to have the ability to activate all these different perks. Of course, in terms of targets, you need moving targets, right? That's one of the biggest complaints I have with the Enclave, is those discs that you can shoot. They just sit there. They don't do anything, right? Give us the ability to have maybe 5 different speeds, and you walk up to a lever on the wall, and or a set of buttons, and you activate difficulty level 1, difficulty level 2, 3, 4, and 5. And at difficulty level 5, I mean, those targets are flying across the screen, right? You know, and really, like, even experts would have a hard time hitting them, right? But it would give players a chance to, if they wanted to test their aim, you know, and test their ability to jump between targets and cut down targets or whatever, you know, you can start at level 1. Or level 1, okay, boom, 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 yeah, this is easy. Go up to level 2, boom, boom, okay, easy. Level 3, oh, okay, I missed a couple shots there, you know. Let's try it again, right? And speaking of missing a couple shots, should also log accuracy, right? But yeah, having moving targets, you know, maybe even some aerial targets drop in from the ceiling, something like that, that we get to look around and stuff. Nothing that shoots back. I don't think having anything that shoots back would do us any good, but just having targets that move, that strafe in different patterns, up, down, forward, backward, stuff like that would really help. Like it would be a wonderful feature to have. And of course, the interaction is there because you can interact with the button to change the speed of it, change the difficulty of it and stuff like that. But also, we just mentioned accuracy, so we'll talk about accuracy now. Have something like have the ability to record your accuracy. You know, if you're at level 3, for example, you're at level 3 and those dummies are moving and you're trying to hit your shots, it's logging your accuracy. It's counting how many shots you hit, how many shots you miss, and it's giving you a percentage, maybe a percentage up on a screen, right up at the top, you know, that way you can see it. You can see, oh, I'm at 73% accuracy, or like, oh, like my accuracy is really going down because, you know, I'm using a submachine gun at, you know, maximum range or something like that. You know, just give us the ability to see the accuracy percentage. Again, it's all based around interaction. How interactive is it, you know? And then you can walk up and hit a button behind you or something that clears out that accuracy and allows you to restart, right? That would be an awesome feature. But moving on, you know, in terms of more testing, why not give us the ability to damage test in a shooting range while we're at it, right? And this is one of the ideas I was most excited about. Like, you know, like I said earlier, you know, we have these, you know, bosses that we do DPS tests on, right? And I know we talked about it just a little bit ago in the video, but here's where I want to go into detail, right? We have Templar, we have, you know, Greg over in Grasp of Avarice, but like, I want to see something that just gives us as like the theoretical maximum damage potential, that we can get, right? Have a massive target, no matter where you hit it, it counts as crits, right? Then you can use your, let's say, 4 times a charm, target lock, retrofit escapade, right? And you could shoot this target and it's counting, of course, all crits. And then there's a number, like a screen right above it, that tells you your overall DPS as you're shooting, right? So as I'm laying into this target, hitting all precision shots with retrofit escapade, you know, I'm reloading it constantly. I'm getting target lock stacked up there. You know, it's giving me an overall DPS number. You know, then I can test it by magazine. Like, let's say, hey, I'm going to shoot until I can't shoot anymore. I'm just going to lay into it, see what the number is, right? And then it tells you your damage per second right up there, you know, 115,000, whatever it might be, right? Then, okay, well, that's retrofit escapade. Now I want to try, you know, a maybe Thunderlord. You know, then you switch over to Thunderlord, start shooting Thunderlord, see what the damage numbers for that is, right? Like, that would be, like, I think that would have to be a feature. Like, if they were at a shooting range like this, like, you'd have to have a damage, you know, testing situation. You could also, you know, say, you know, there's a lot of timed excursions in Destiny 2, right? Take one, you know, and say you have a timer in the shooting range. You know, you have a timer, and for 15 seconds, I'm going to shoot for 15 seconds, and I want you to log the DPS I have for this 15 seconds, right? So, you know, you turn it on, you know, you can use your scroll wheel or your arrow keys on, or I'm sorry, your arrow buttons on your controller or something to change the time, right? You get a maximum, let's say a maximum of 30 seconds. But you can change it all the way up to 30 seconds. And for 30 seconds, the second you start dealing damage, it's counting how much DPS you're doing. And it's counting, you know, how often you're stopped. So if you stop shooting, it's still counting it. If you know, continue shooting, if you're reloading, like, it's counting it and giving you those DPS numbers. That way you can take your retrofit escapade with 4 times a charm and target lock. You can lay into a target. When you have to reload, then it factors in that reload. It factors in how long it takes to get back up to times 4 or times 5 stacks of target lock. So it gives you an overall DPS number for that 30-second time frame. And of course, you can shorten it if you want to do 10 seconds, 5 seconds. You know, I just use 30 as an example. Allow us to go up to a minute, bunch, like, that'd be cool. But, you know, just this damage number testing feature would be awesome. You know, body shot damage, precision damage, right? Like you could go as far to say increase precision multipliers, you know, say against, you know, Kali has a higher precision multiplier. Allow us to input the precision multiplier that we want up to like times 10 or something. Maybe not times 10, because there's nothing in the game that comes even close to having a times 10 crit multiplier. But you know, that would be a really awesome feature to have. And again, like it brings, like it would get used very regularly. Like I would be in there testing damage numbers on everything I get. Every time a new season, or maybe not season anymore, but a new content drop comes in, you know, and we get a new, say, heavy machine gun, right? With a new cool roll or something. I'm in there testing it. I'm testing it. I want to see how much damage it's doing. I want to see how accurate it is. You know, I want to see all these different numbers, and it would help people so much. Because again, like we do have YouTubers that go out and do damage test numbers and stuff like that, but those numbers are they're variable, right? Sometimes, you know, you might hit 98% of crits. Other times you might hit 94% of crits. Like your numbers are going to have disparities between them, right? Allow us to get a flat raw number from a shooting range. It's 15 meters in front of you. You can't miss it. You can't miss it. You're hitting all precision shots, you know, blah, 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 whatever. I think that would be a just tremendously cool feature to have inside of Destiny 2. Of course, other means of interaction, you know, obviously maybe have, you know, if the rotating targets, you know, where you can increase the difficulty and speed of them, maybe make a game out of it. You know, if you can be 90% accurate on level 1, you get, you know, 40 glimmer, 50 glimmer, you know, nothing huge. Doesn't have to be some crazy amount of glimmer or anything, but just something interactive, something to reward players for going in there and doing this stuff. Like, I think that would be just, it would add to the you know, the niceness of it. You know, hey, like I'm gonna go to the gun range, you know, I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna test damage numbers, I'm gonna get some glimmer for free while I do it. You know, but interaction, I can't stress how important it is to have an interactive shooting range. And I know I've said that multiple times throughout the video, but interaction is key for the shooting range. You know, right behind you, you know, you have special weapons, you have heavy weapons. Right behind you, there is special and heavy crates that you can use as much as you want, as often as you want. There's not a cooldown on them, right? You walk in there, oh, I just switched to, you know, Eliatic Principle. Now I need heavy ammo. Pick up heavy ammo. Okay, I'm done testing with Eliatic Principle. Now I'm going to switch over to Black Talon. Switch over to Black Talon. Bam. You know, able to refill your heavy again. And I think that, you know, we could theoretically do something like the Enclave where it automatically restocks your ammo. But I think, again, that would take away from interaction. You know, having to turn around and fill up, you know, open a heavy ammo crate. Like, it might be annoying for some, but I think for most people, it's not that big of a deal. For me, it's not that big of a deal, right? I think that it would just be a fun like addition, right? I don't know, but yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. Is there anything else? Oh yeah, of course, you'd need melee testing dummies too. So have some dummies that you can use a sword on, have some dummies that you can use a glaive on, stuff like that. That way, again, you can test, say, Bequest with Surrounded and see how much damage you can put out over a course of X amount of seconds. And again, how Bungie wants to do this, I would leave this up to them. You know, however you want to design it, if you want to like try to combine as many of these features as you want, you know, the DPS numbers, the perk activation numbers, like if you want to test, like, you know, add as many of these as you want, that's fine, right? I would also say, in terms of the DPS number testing, have a scoreboard that counts like 5 different weapons, right? So you can use, you know, Eliatic Principle, you can use Thunderlord, you can use Retrofit Escapade, you can use what's another good SMG, Song of Ear Ute. You can use all these different weapons, and it puts all their DPS numbers up there. That way you can say, hey, so there's Thunderlord's damage. Wow, Thunderlord has a lot of damage. You know, hey, I'm surprised, but I thought Retrofit Escapade would have more damage, but no, I'm looking up there, and, you know, Eliatic Principle beat it out, right? Like, just something like that, I think would be so cool. It would be so fun to have in Destiny, like, and it would get a lot of usage. Because again, like, there are content creators that go out and they test stuff, you know, on Greg and whatnot. But I think that the issue is you can't you can't find people testing everything that you want to test. I know I have a ton of roles that I want to test because they sound like they'd be good in theory, but it's just a hassle to go and test them. I had a shooting range, I would be in my vault. My vault would be almost clean because I could go through and say, hey, like, this is the damage numbers. Oh, that's not nearly as much as I thought it was. Getting rid of it, right? you know, oh, hey, this is way more than I thought it was. I'm going to make sure to equip this on my loadout more often. And this other thing that I have, even though I have 6,000 kills on it, I'm going to put it in the vault here because I'm not using it as much. Maybe, you know, Void Surge comes around and it does more damage, or Arc Surge or Solar, or, you know, whatever it might be. But yeah, I think it would be so beneficial to the game. Like, what if Bungie added a shooting range with all of these features? Of course, I want to hear your thoughts on these, you know, on these features. Like, do you think this would be a cool idea? Do you not think it'd be a cool idea? Where would you want to see it? And of course, if you have any other cool ideas you'd want to see in a shooting range, tell me down below in the comments. Like today's video if you enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed making it. Subscribe for more daily Destiny content. And yeah, do me a favor, watch the videos you see on the end screen here, because for whatever reason, YouTube thinks you will like them. Guys, I will see y'all next time. Bye for now.